Some of you may remember a few years ago we looked at using a plugin inside of Google Forms called Flubaroo to allow us to create self-grading forms. Google changed this last summer when they released a new version of Google Forms that has the ability to self-grade its forms built in. So no need anymore to install a separate plugin. So I've got this old Google form that I used a couple of years ago with Flubaroo to make a self-grading quiz. I'm going to choose to edit this form now in the new Google Forms interface. If it comes up in the old Google Forms interface, just click on the purple bar at the top that will say edit this form in the new Google Forms to get to this interface screen. The way we turn this from a normal survey that relied on a plugin to grade to a self-grading form is to click on the cogwheel, the settings cogwheel in Forms. Make sure that the general settings are set the way we want. We want to restrict this to people in McConnell Middle School. I want to collect their email addresses, their name automatically, so that I don't have to depend on them to self-report that. I'm going to limit them to only one response per quiz. I'm not going to allow them to edit the quiz after they've submitted it to try and improve their grade. I do want to show the progress bar as they complete their work. I'm not going to shuffle the question order, but I can if I wanted. On the Quizzes tab, I need to be sure this is going to show up as off. So on the Quizzes tab, if it's an old form, you're going to need to be sure that you slide that over to make it a quiz. And then you need to tell Google how you want those grades released. Do you want to wait until you've reviewed the quiz to release the grades to the students, or do you want it available immediately after the submission? And I'm going to choose to release it immediately for the most immediate feedback. I'm going to allow them to see missed questions. I'm going to allow them to see the correct answers and the point values for each question. If I didn't want them to see the correct answers, I can uncheck it. Then they will only know those they missed, but they won't see what the correct answers were in those particular questions. Save all of those preferences, and now my form is self-grading. But there is one more step we need to take, because Google doesn't know what the correct answer is yet for these questions. Flubaroo did. We need to let Google know. So I click on the question. I choose answer key. I tell Google how many points do I want this question to be worth. I tell it the correct answer to this question by just checking. And you notice I can have more than one correct answer. I also supply my feedback here. So underneath, if I want to supply feedback for each question, I can do so. So let's do that from a question that hasn't been changed yet. All right, so click on the question. I choose answer key. Tell Google how many points I want the question to be worth. Choose the correct response and add answer feedback. Incorrect answers go here. Correct response. This is what they will see if they get it right. This will be what they see if they get it wrong. Save, and we're done, and so forth. So once I've supplied an answer key for each of the questions, it's ready to go live. From there, it's just like the old Google Forms. I can simply submit the live form as a link, either in D2L or in Google Classroom or wherever I want students to allow students to get to this, even from my website, and they can take my quiz. So now let's look at a couple of other ways of creating, rather than turning a pre-existing Google form into a self-grading quiz. What about if we're starting from scratch? Well, then we just go to the directory we want to create the new form in, create new, choose Google Forms, say yes, that we want to create it in that folder, and again, we get a form. We need to go to the settings menu, decide what we're going to choose here, and generally you'll probably want to collect, if you're creating a quiz, collect the student's email address or account name is what this really is, so that you don't have to depend on the student to tell you truthfully. And again, make it a quiz. This allows us to supply an answer key to Google. And one last way to accomplish this would be to use the handy-dandy Rubik's Cube of Google Apps up here, little 3x3 cube. Choose More, and you'll note that Forms is actually its own app now. So if I click on that app, I'll be taken to a nice little Forms interface that shows me a lot of different templates. Among them, exit tickets, assessments, blank quizzes, etc. So I choose the template I want to use. Again, go to Settings, decide if I want to go ahead and collect their account names, which I probably do. Make it a quiz. Again, set all the, just as we did before, set all the preferences the way we want them, and then start building my quiz. That's all there is to it. One quick feature I should point out for those of you that would like to use self-grading forms inside of eClass, if you will, once your form is ready to go, hit the Send button. You may be very interested in this last little option with the two chevrons, because this gives you an embed code for the form. So if you copy that and then go to eClass and insert that under the Insert More Stuff tool with the Embed tool, you'll be able to have the form show up directly inside of D2L.